The reboot of the Yankees dynasty kicked off in 1996. That championship was their first since 1978, and it led to 4 titles in 5 years. After missing out on the World Series every year between 1982 and 1995, all of those years not even making the playoffs, they would appear in 6 of the next 8 World Series, and it all started with that team in 1996. Their record? 92-70. You may recognize that as the same record the 2021 Yankees had, a team full of angst and turmoil, losing the wildcard game to Boston to end their season. 2021 marked the 12th straight year without a pennant, coming off their first decade in 100 years where they failed to go to a World Series. From 2010 through 2021, they went to the playoffs in all but 3 of those years. So what happened to the mighty Yankees? Why haven't they been able to push through like they had so easily before? Before we start, if you can drop this video a like, I'd appreciate it. It helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. And thanks to 2018 Fireballs for this video idea. Give him a sub if you're into MLB 9 Innings 21. I think you can break down the last 25 years into 5 different eras. From 1996 to 2003, you had the dynasty, 4 titles and 6 pennants in 8 years. From 2004 to 2008, you had the decline, culminating in their first year outside the playoffs since 1993. From 2009 to 2012, you had the revenge. The team was reloaded and they had 4 great years. 2013 to 2016 was the dark years. The core 4 dropped off one by one, and they only made the playoffs once, but the team was in transition. 2017 to 2021 is the return, the Yankees once again being a stalwart in the playoffs. We're going to focus on that 2010s decade, following their dominant World Series title in 2009, and see if we can figure out what the problem is. Just looking at some basic stats, the first thing that jumps out at me is the pitching. Look at their dynasty years, 1996 to 2003. They were inside the top 4 in the league in runs allowed every year. They wouldn't make their way back into the top 4 until 2011. Since 2013, the only year they finished better than 5th was 2017. Even in their World Series year in 2009, when they signed CC Sabathia and AJ Burnett, they were only 6th in runs allowed. That being said, they did score 915 runs, which was tops in the league. Hat tip 2 big bats they brought in over the offseason, Mark Teixeira and Nick Swisher. They were even in the lower half in pitching and hitting in 2013 and 2014, so it's pretty amazing they had a record as good as they did. The hitting has been there more often than not, but 2 of their weaker seasons ended in World Series titles, 1996 and 2000, and their offense was absolutely popping in 4 of the 5 years I call the decline. From 2004 to 2007, they were either first or second, their best year in this whole 25-year span coming in 2007. They were also first or second in their revenge years, dropped way off in the 3 years they missed the playoffs, but their latest run has seen their offense come to life. This is led by guys like Judge, Stanton, and LeMahieu, ranking first or second 4 years in a row, then dropping down to 10th in their weird 2021 season. If you saw my video about the top 10 2021 Yankees, that team was all about Garrett Cole in the bullpen. Hardly anyone on offense had a strong year. This seems like an anomaly. 232 fewer runs in 2 years prior. That's amazing. Their pitching staff gave up the same exact amount of runs as they did in 2018, and that team won 100 games. They just need to get that offense back on track. Let's continue on the topic of the years that I call the return. From 2017 to 2020, the Yankees were among the best in the league. I say among the best because there was some stiff competition. In 2017, the Cleveland Indians were the top seed in the American League, coming off an AL pennant, winning 102 games and even ran off 22 in a row. The Yankees were still rising at the time, only winning 91 games as the AL wildcard, but they took down the Indians in 5 games, then lost a tough 7-game series against the 101-win Cheatin' Astros. They won 100 games in 2018, but they were outmatched by the 108-win Red Sox. Nobody could even touch the Sox that year. They were just too good. Their 103-win team in 2019 ran into another behemoth, the 107-win Astros. In 2020, they had a solid 33-27 record, and they were barely beaten by the 40-20 Rays, losing a dramatic Game 5 in the ALDS. Every one of those years except for 2018, the Yankees were so close. They could have improved on their pitching a little, and they really tried to make that happen, dumping the money truck on Garrett Cole after 2019. But the staff as a whole didn't fare much better. It's not really Cole's fault. He's averaged a 3.11 ERA and finished in the top 4 in the Cy Young voting each year. There just wasn't much depth behind him. Masahiro Tanaka had 3 very good years from 2014 to 2016, but he was about league average during those 4 good years, and then he went back to Japan. James Paxton had a good year in 2019, but he wasn't good in 2020 and he was gone. CC Sabathia revived his career between 2016 and 2018, but he wasn't good in 2019 and he retired. Luis Severino was outstanding in 2017 and 2018, but he's only appeared in 7 games since. Domingo Germán won 18 games in 2019, but he didn't pitch in 2020, and he only put in a half season with below average stuff in 2021. Jordan Montgomery, Jameson Taillon, these guys are serviceable, but when it comes to winning a playoff series against a powerhouse team, it hasn't been good enough. Their last World Series team in 2009 only used 3 pitchers to get it done: Sabathia, Burnett, Pettit. This is a dangerous tactic, but those guys started all 15 games. They even got roughed up a bit, but that number one offense came to play, and none of their opponents were anywhere near as good. That 103-win team swept the 87-win Twins and went up 3-1 on the 97-win Angels and 93-win Phillies before taking both those series in 6. 2009 kicked off the revenge years, a 4-year span that started with a title and continued with the Yankees mashing their way to 95 and 97-win seasons, and their pitching was improved over that 2009 season. They didn't give up 700 runs in any of those next 3 seasons. So if this team performed so well, what happened in the playoffs between 2010 and 2012? Did they run into powerhouse teams? Not really. In 2010, they lost in 6 to the 90-win Rangers, and they went on to get crushed in the World Series with the 92-win Giants. They lost the 2011 ALDS to the 95-win Tigers, a team that sported the Cy Young and MVP Justin Verlander, but he was ineffective, giving up 5 runs in 9 innings over his 2 starts. The Yankees outscored the Tigers by 15 runs in their 2 wins, but lost the other 3 by a grand total of 4 runs. Maybe chalk that one up to bad luck. The 2012 team squeaked past the Orioles, but their offense was anemic, especially after Game 1, hitting .211 for the series. That was a bad omen going into the ALCS. Those daunting 88-win Tigers held them to a 157 average in a 4-game sweep. Those 4 Tiger starters giving up just 2 runs total. That Tiger team was so dominant, they went on to get swept by the Giants. Those 2012 Yankees scored 804 runs and were second in the league. They just went into a bad slump over the last 8 games of the playoffs. It happens. When I was looking for angles for this video, I was throwing out possibilities to explain why these good teams failed to break through. One idea I had was the stadium. They moved into the new Yankee Stadium in 2009 and won a title right away, but I was wondering if maybe the Yankees lost some of their mystique when they moved. Opponents coming into the old Yankee Stadium, with all its history and all those titles, that could make them play a little tight. The 2009 Yankees were 7-1 at home in the playoffs. From 2010 to 2019, they were 15-12. That's not great, especially when looking at their 32-17 record between 1996 and 2003. But when you leave the dynasty years and stay in the old Yankee Stadium, from 2004 to 2007, they only had a 6-6 record. I don't really blame the new stadium. How about the payroll? You can't really compare dollar figures. The salaries have become so inflated since 2000, but you can compare how they rank in baseball. Their opening day roster was number 1 from 2000 to 2013, and they've stayed within the top few, dipping down to 6 in 2018, where they still had an amazing year. They were back up to 2nd in 2021. I don't chalk this up to salary. So what about the players? So much was made of the core 4. 4-star players signed in the early 90s, making their debut in 1995, and being a part of all 5 World Series teams through 2009. Derek Jeter, Jorge Posada, Andy Pettitte, and Mariano Rivera. You can throw in Bernie Williams as a key part of their dynasty years also. They brought in key pieces at the right time. Tino Martinez, David Cone, David Wells, Roger Clemens, Scott Brocious, Chuck Knobloch, Paul O'Neill, David Justice, and brought up guys like El Duque, Orlando Hernandez, and Alfonso Soriano. It seemed like most of their success came before they started nabbing the best free agents on the market, or trading for the highest priced players between 2001 and 2008. Mike Mussina, Jason Giambi, Gary Sheffield, Hideki Matsui, Alex Rodriguez, Kevin Brown, Randy Johnson, Carl Pavano, Johnny Damon, and Roger Clemens for the second time when he was in his 40s. Their big spending didn't get them much, but a couple of those guys like A-Rod, Damon, and Matsui helped them out in 2009. More impressive than those guys they brought on were the guys they brought up. Robinson Cano, Melky Cabrera, Jabba Chamberlain, Phil Hughes, Ian Kennedy, Brett Gardner, and David Robertson. Combine those guys, plus the core 4, along with Sabathia, Burnett, Teixeira, and Swisher, and you have a new trophy for your case. Their best move in the years following 2009 was bringing on Curtis Granderson and Russell Martin. Other guys like Chase Headley and Jacoby Ellsbury turned out to be big disappointments, bringing those guys on during the dark years of 2013 through 2016. But they were able to make their move on a few key players, setting themselves up for their return to prominence. Masahiro Tanaka, Didi Gregorius, Gio Urshela, Gleyber Torres, DJ LeMahieu, Giancarlo Stanton, Zach Britton, Aroldis Chapman, and Garrett Cole. The Yankees are targeting a few big-time contracts, but they're getting production out of them. They also brought up key players like Dellin Betances, Luis Severino, Gary Sanchez, Chad Green, Domingo Germán, Jonathan Loaizaga, Miguel Andujar, and most of all, Aaron Judge. The last factor I want to consider is the manager. Joe Torre was so respected through the glory years, but he left after the 2007 season. Joe Girardi came in and failed to make the playoffs in 2008 before winning it all in 2009. But after 8 years with no pennant, he was out after 2017. Aaron Boone came in, and he's gone to the playoffs every year, inheriting a team on the rise, but still no pennant. There's so much that goes into managing that's intangible. It seems like Girardi and Boone have had a similar fate, but for different reasons. If you have any opinion on the manager's role in the Yankees' success, or lack thereof, let me know in the comments below. I'm looking at you, Showtime Nick. I don't have any conclusions based on what I see here. Since 2009, the Yankees have really had 2 windows opened up for them. From 2010 to 2012, they had an aging core, but they relied on some really good free agents to be a dominant AL force. They put up great regular season numbers, and then they faltered in the playoffs against teams they should have beaten. From 2017 to 2021, they brought up a new young core with a couple big-time guys they brought in. Passable pitching, but a great offense. I think their biggest problem here was competition. I know the Yankees from the dynasty years had to get past the 96 and 99 Braves, the mashing Indians of the 90s, and the 116-win Mariners. But those 17 and 19 Astros, 18 Red Sox, and 20 Rays were just better than them. Trash can or no trash can, and they couldn't overcome it. That's all I have for this video. This was a tough one to research and write, so I hope it made some sense. Let me know what you think. If the Yankees are your team, tell me if you think I'm spot on, way off, or missing some key factors here. What do you think is the #1 reason the 2010s was the first decade the Yankees failed to win a pennant since the 19-teens? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, and give me a sub for more baseball content just like this. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.